Today we're going to be looking at treasure. So what is a treasure? A treasure is something that has value assigned to it. You guard it, you hide it away, or you store it away for future use to enjoy it. So what are some of your treasures? I got out some of my treasures to show you today. Spangle from my Beanie Baby collection. An official Major League Baseball signed by Cal Ripken Jr. An official Sony Walkman from the 1980s, almost mint condition. A silver dollar from 1895. A $2 bill. Part of my stamp collection here. I've got stamps commemorating the 1980 Olympics from way back then, and stamps from 1981 commemorating the first space shuttle launch. Vintage Oriole stickers. Something from my college days. My scientific calculator. And when I was also in the mode of saving things, storing things up for my business meetings, I have a collection of ties. Sometimes in my household, we'll hide things away that are treasures so that other people don't get them or eat them. So here's one of my treasures that I hid away. I believe it was a pastor appreciation gift. Thank you. So Jesus tells us in Matthew 6, verses 19 to 21, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." In Jesus' time, signs of wealth would have been things like fine, elaborate clothing, or grain or corn stored up for future use, precious metals like gold and silver in the form of money. But he warns that all these things are temporary. Moths can eat the clothes, vermin can eat the corn or the grain, and thieves can break in and steal. Jesus is making the point that while these things bring temporary pleasures, they can't be taken into eternity. They were things of value and people needed them, but they weren't to value them above the things of God. So some modern day examples would be shoes. Jermaine was telling me the other week that there are shoes that cost like $2,000 or $3,000 a pair, and people will like to buy them and wear them as a sign of wealth. Another sign of wealth are large houses and large lots of land. Certain cars and trucks might be a sign of wealth. Well, these treasures on earth are all temporary. We can't take them into eternity with us. So contrast the things I just said with treasure in heaven. Heaven is the safe storehouse. Treasures in heaven are things that God values. So God tells us of two types of treasure. The first one is some type of eternal resource that he doesn't quite reveal to us, but we're going to enjoy in eternity. And the second one are our relationships that we form now on earth, and they expand and continue into eternity. So how do you store up treasure? Well, we have to do something. And Scripture makes it clear what we need to do. And that is, number one, acts of kindness. We shouldn't selfishly hoard what we have. We need to bless others and help others in need. In fact, Jesus tells the rich young ruler when he encounters him that if he would sell all he has and give away the money or whatever he has to the poor, that he would build up treasure in heaven. 1 Timothy 6:18-19, Paul takes the point even further, and he says that the good deeds and the sharing of our possessions builds a foundation that God can build upon in heaven when he gives us treasures. Way number two is that we are to invest our resources, our time, and our energy into mentoring and serving other people and guiding them in their faith journey as they become more Christ-like. The more we share now on earth, the more friends we make, the more we interact, the more favor we have with people. And as Luke 16:9 says, this translates into eternity. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings.
There's another perspective that I want to look at with storehouses. God has storehouses that he is ready to bestow on us so that we can hand them out and bless other people. 2 Corinthians 9 says, "Now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion, and through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Didn't that happen to George Mueller? Do you remember the story of George Mueller? He wanted to take care of the orphans, and many times he didn't have enough money for food for them to eat. He didn't have enough money for to have housing for them, but he would pray and God would open the storehouse of heaven so that he could bless the orphans, and he ended up taking care of thousands and thousands and thousands of orphans with the blessings and the resources from the storehouse that God opened up. Several years ago, it was Valentine's Day, and I started to pray. I was like, God, I see so many sad people on Valentine's Day. Would you open up the storehouse and give me a truck of Valentine's Day flowers that I could hand them out to all the sad people that I'm seeing here on Valentine's Day? And I believe that prayer opened up the storehouse. It was different than exactly what I prayed, but it was even better than what I prayed, because it was around that time that Kenneth with the vegetable ministry said, can I bring just trucks of food, not just vegetables, other kinds of food too? Can I bring trucks of those week after week? And so for the past 4 years, from June to October, he's bringing truckloads of food that do this. We are enriched in every way so that we can be generous on every occasion, and through us, our generosity results in thanksgiving to God. People receive it and say, God cares about me. I'm worth something. And it results in thanksgiving to God. As a byproduct, we store up treasures in heaven. God gets the glory and the praises. It's beautiful. I remember last year, I believe Elaine and Donna and Darlene were handing out Valentine's Day cards. And these were cards that God had given them an abundance of. He had opened the storehouse. They started handing out Valentine's Day cards and extra for others to hand out. God had filled them with a storehouse of Valentine's Day cards. I remember within the past year or two, our friend John Harris was praying that God would give us clothing that we could hand out to people. And I remember thinking, well, we actually can't store clothing at our church because we don't want to, there's always a chance of bringing bed bugs into the church, and we can't really store it. So I wasn't quite sure what to think of his prayer, but his prayer opened up the floodgates of heaven, because David Wirtz got a job at the laundromat. And at the laundromat, in their back room, they keep bags and bags and bags of clothes that people never come and pick up. And these are clothes that have been washed and dried. And so here we're getting bed-bug-free clothing to hand out. We are enriched in every way so that we can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. That prayer opened up the storehouse of heaven so that we can bless around us, and actually it's storing up treasure as well. And so just start to think, how does God want to bless the people around me? How does he want to use me to bless the people around me? And if you don't have the resources, start to pray that the storehouse will be opened.
So in closing, I want to ask you a couple questions. What am I doing to store up treasures in heaven? What prayers of faith can I pray to open up the storehouses now?